You've been told over and over that you just need to set some boundaries with your partner. So you finally decide, okay, I'm going to set boundaries in my relationship. This time I will be heard and respected without it turning into another argument or another disappointment. But when it's time to follow through, it suddenly feels either confusing or downright terrifying. So you slide back into the same patterns because honestly, it just feels easier. If you're stuck in that spot, this video is for you. As a relational therapist for over 10 years, I've developed a simple 3-part method for setting boundaries in a relationship in a way your partner can actually hear and respond to. When you learn this model, you can state your needs more clearly and start building a relationship that feels balanced and collaborative instead of oppressive and one-sided. And don't worry about remembering everything the first time. I've put it all into a guide you can download for free. Just click the link below. If you were never taught about boundaries in your family when growing up, then they may seem like a bad thing. They can be perceived as punishment or rejection, but this is totally backwards. When you can set boundaries properly and lovingly, it helps others recognize what you need from them and gives them a chance of meeting your expectations in the relationship. Good boundaries protect us from conflict. They don't create it. Before we get into the method, we need to be clear about what a boundary actually is in a relationship. A boundary is a relational expectation we set with someone. It's not just a request, because with a request, we're willing to hear no. With boundaries, we expect them to be honored. Just like boundaries between countries, they're clearly marked out, and there are guides for who can cross them and under what circumstances. These may be the things we say to each other, or maybe physical interactions we may or may not consent to. But we need to learn how to establish those boundaries so people can understand them and respect them. There are specific characteristics of a well-crafted boundary, and when you have all 3, it can help things go so much smoother in your relationship. To remember this when you need it, think ABC. This will make it easier to remember when you need it and easier to use. So let's get started. In the first part of our ABC method, A stands for affect-oriented. This means that boundaries are based on your feelings and your needs. So in my former career as a teacher, I may have said something like this to a student. I'm uncomfortable with you calling me dude because I find that term disrespectful in this setting. If you want me to answer your question, please call me Mr. Neal in front of the other students. This expectation begins with my feelings and my needs. I explain to the student that I feel discomfort and express my need for respect. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because it begins the interaction with something that can't be argued. Your feelings and your needs are inarguable. Nobody gets to say what your feelings and your needs are. From a practical standpoint, when we can make any kind of expectation from a less confrontational position, we stand a better chance of others complying. I didn't call the student disrespectful or anything else or embarrass them in front of their peers. I simply stated my own perspective and followed up with my expectation. It doesn't mean I wouldn't still get some sighs and eye rolls from a teenager, but it does help smooth the path to having my expectations met with a minimum of conflict. The second quality of our ABCs, B, stands for behavioral. This means that the boundary needs to state an expectation for a specific behavior. Either do it or don't do it, and we need to be as specific as possible here. For example, Mary may say to her boyfriend Tom, "I'm embarrassed when you say that to me in front of her friends. Please don't say that to me in front of them again, or I won't be willing to go out with you in a group setting anymore." Mary gets the A and B parts of her boundary just right. She begins by talking about her feelings, her embarrassment. Then she is specific about something Tom says she feels uncomfortable with. Now Tom knows exactly what Mary's expectation is and can try to respect her needs. If Mary were to say something like, "Don't be such a jerk, you're so mean to me in front of your friends, cut it out," she may not be wrong. Tom might be a jerk, but he also has little to go on when it comes to changing his behavior and respecting Mary's boundaries. Tom may not have the self-awareness or sensitivity to know what specifically he might have said to upset Mary, because he might have said a lot of things that could have done that. For Mary to have her needs met, she needs to be clear. If everything Tom said upset her, she may need to tell him that. Or if this happens a lot, she may just need to find a better boyfriend. Either way, the first example is a far more productive approach for Mary. The third of our ABCs, C, is consequences. Any good boundary includes an understandable if-then statement. If I speed through a school zone, then I get a $300 ticket. If the student keeps calling me dude, then I won't answer his questions. If Tom keeps saying those embarrassing things to Mary in front of his friends, then she's going to refuse to go out with him when his friends are there. A consequence demonstrates your seriousness about the expectation and creates a motivation for the other person to comply. A boundary without a consequence is not a boundary. It's a wish. Wishes are the things fantasy is made of and have no basis in reality. If you want your boundaries to be respected, there needs to be a consequence for what happens if they're not. Now, there is a problem with this system I want to address, and this is directed specifically to those in serious relationships or marriages, not casual relationships or those with a power differential, like a student and teacher. You may be asking yourself, Chris, what if my partner hears my boundary, understands my feelings, they understand the behavioral expectation, and that I'm serious about it, and they still don't respect my boundary? In serious and more permanent relationships, the ABC model definitely needs some important things to be effective. It needs both partners to be committed to meeting each other's needs. It needs two people who would never intentionally hurt or neglect each other and will work to show up for their partner in supportive ways any way they can. If you suspect your relationship may not last because your partner is simply unwilling to show up for you in supportive ways, the ABCs alone won't fix that. You may be in line for a different conversation. There's another option here too, when we have a genuine disagreement about what needs to happen. If one of you states a boundary and the other finds that inappropriate or unfair in some way, then we have an opportunity for negotiation. We can work together to find some acceptable middle ground. I think you'll find that an ABC boundary is one that can be negotiated. This is the power of this model, because it steps around accusations and focuses on our feelings and our needs, what we want from each other, and how important that is to us. Don't forget, you can download the ABCs of Boundaries in the link below. And if you have not already done so, please like and subscribe so you won't miss my future relationship videos. Thanks for being here, and until next time, be well.